Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me at Yachting. I'm here with Jimmy Carroll. He is the business developer and co-founder of Pelorus. If you haven't heard of Pelorus, it's one of the leading travel expedition companies in the world. They cater to the 1% of the world. They do bespoke travels. They have been featured in almost any magazine that you want to be featured in, from Condé Nast, Travel, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. One of my favorites was the super yacht. They also spoke at, what was it? The Super Yacht Investors. They also spoke at Talks Ocean Talk. So they've been actually sharing their message on so many different media platforms. And Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure, Andrea. Thank you. I think I'm really encouraged by the people who want to get on and use their platforms and really get people to come and speak. And so it's a great honour to be here with you.
No, thanks again. I do love when these different conferences are now integrating companies like yours that I think broaden the horizon of the conference and give a little bit more of an insight instead of like us only thinking about yachts and the vessels themselves, but more like the experience. And I think that's like the bread and butter of your company, that YOLO trip, as I call it. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Pelarus? What do you guys do, and where are you?
Yeah, so Geordie and I formed the company 2.5 years ago now, and we have three parts to our business. We have our private adventures, which are land-based travels, and then the yacht expeditions, which particularly pertinent to you with the yacht Dame. Which is really taking yachts much further afield to amazing locations such as Antarctica, PNG, Svalbard, and many, many more. And then we also have the Pelorus agency, which is our B2B corporate arm as well. But I think we're really lucky in this down time and period of adversity that yes, we're young, but we're actually incredibly nimble and agile, and that allowing us to move and change and adapt quickly to what's happening in the market, but also to be able to offer different solutions to our clients, which I think larger, more established companies find it very hard to break the mold of what they're in. And hopefully, we're all come out of this, in a position that we're ready to, fight another day. And we're certainly looking to the future and how we position ourselves. And I think there'll be some great opportunities out there, and some very hungry clientele who want to travel again.
Yeah, I heard that a couple of people that were being isolated again, and the webinar was about digital marketing last week. And it was the head of Twitter saying, I don't know how about you guys, but I'm checking Google Flights the moment we can actually lift travel bans. I'm going to be out there doing my best trip ever. Going back, I'm so happy that you said that you guys are very agile, coming from, I'm in a company that's like almost 1,000 employees, but thankfully it's divided between small teams. And
Yeah.
we have felt that difference from us being able to move and adapt and change directions fast. So that's really cool. Um, where was it that you said that you are based? Where's
So
Pelorus?
we're all based in London. That's where our headquarters are. But as it stands, we're kind of to the four corners of Great Britain, and dialing in on video conferences every day. We're trying to mix it up. So yesterday, the video conference was everyone had to wear fancy dress.
Oh, I thought you were fixing it up from Skype to Zoom, but no.
Yeah, so we have done that. We've had team drinks on Zoom, at the end of the week and things. But you've got to keep the creativity going, and I think creativity is so important in what we do. It's really the essence of every project of the Pelorus. So trying to keep that fun and the team together is vital in the current times.
Yeah, keeping morality up is a little bit hard, and it's definitely something that we have to focus on right now. You were
Yeah.
saying before, you and your partner are very different from the rest of us in the sense that you have been training for isolation for the longest time, and you have been able to include that military background into Peloro. So can you explain what
Yeah,
that means?
I think both Geordie and I, our background was and where we met was in the British Army, and that prepared us for a lot of things in life. And ultimately, that was going on operations to places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Geordie and I met in the foothills of the Hindu Kush on a reconnaissance mission. But
Okay.
um, I think it gives you a lot of skills and building blocks to look at all different scenarios, and that's how we look at business. And we've used the military planning model that back in the army and transitioned that into a travel and yacht expeditions planning model. But also, yeah, in the current times, we're well trained to deal with isolation. So I think this is a better type of isolation I would have experienced than I did in the army. So yeah, we're lucky on that front, but very much everything that we do at Pelorus goes through this military planning model, and I think that allows us to look at how we offer.
For those of us that don't understand,
Uh,
what does that actually mean? The military planning model.
the military planning model essentially asks 7 questions. It goes through about how you plan every operation, and so we've transitioned that into travel. So first of all, we start with what is the client's intent and what they want to achieve and why, and then we look at how do we make that happen. And then the third thing we look at is the locations of where we may look to conduct these experiences for the clientele. And then we go through a series of others. But by looking at it like that, it means that actually, we're really drilling down into the client's experiences that we're going to achieve, and not be locked to a location for that. And I think this is the beauty about working with yachts,
Mm-hmm.
especially is because actually the yacht is a perfect platform because it can maneuver and move overnight and into a different location. And so we can build so many more experiences for the clients with yachts, and also the assets that they have on board. And I worked with Motor Yacht Suri at the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I will challenge any client to use all the toys and assets they have, from the submarine to the helicopter, the seaplane, to jet skis, the 4 different kind of tenders on board, all the live equipment. So it really means that we can be doing an expedition right up into the highlands of Papua New Guinea, jungle treks, to then diving with the family, and then a conservation project, or land base, or planting coral or what have you. So, yeah, the opportunities with yachts is huge.
I hadn't actually thought of it. I dare you to actually use all the toys you carry. That's
Yeah.
actually very cool. Um, Back to, I'm guessing with when you do so much planning in advance, right now you're able to focus on logistics during this isolation time. So what else, what are you guys focusing on right now? Because I'm guessing some trips have been postponed, canceled. So,
Yeah, absolutely. We've been hit like everyone else has with a number of postponements. I think the postponement's been good for both the client, that they've still got something to look forward to, and for us that the project is still there. And ultimately, with the suppliers that we work with on the ground, they've been amazing to facilitate being able to push projects back later on in the year. There have been a number of cancellations, and that's the nature of the times that we find ourselves in. And I know those clients that have cancelled will do the projects again, either later in the year or next year as well. We just need to find the time. But for us, we've launched, and I think you saw the hashtag, Andrea, which was planning with purpose.
oh, you launched it? I went in and there's tons of posts in it.
Yeah, good. And very much everything we do at Pelorus is planning with purpose, but also that actually now is the time to start thinking about planning for a project towards the end of the year, and hopefully, but by the end of Q3 and Q4, we'll be doing projects live again and taking people to amazing places. And some of those we're working on, a handful of different projects right now for Antarctica with the
Mm-hmm.
yacht community, looking at December, January kind of onwards. And now's the perfect time because it takes 6 months to get the permitting in place for that anyway. So we would naturally be doing that around April, May, June. Um, and then other clients are looking at when can we actually start to travel
Mm-hmm.
again. I think that's a question on everyone's mind. And the optimist in me would say, maybe August, September. Realistically, I think would be safe. Hopefully, the end of September, October onwards. But it's a very hard one to predict, and I don't think anyone's going to put their name to it exactly when that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as the virus starts to move on and different countries start to become clearer of it, and they loosen the restrictions about people traveling there, that will open up more opportunities for our clientele.
So if you haven't guessed, the clientele is, one of the 1% in the world. And we were saying before how first you had the commercial travel ban, and then you were saying there was a surge of private planes, and then those were grounded again, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And a number of weeks, 2, 3 weeks ago, there was a massive surge in private aviation requests, and we're working with a number of companies on that. And it's great as our clients are able to utilize assets such as that. That has become more restricted as countries have locked down and put in implications that you can actually fly to a lot of countries still, but you've got to go into 14 days of isolation, which then makes it very hard, even if you fly privately. But I think when
Got it.
we come out the other side, we'll see that surge again as well. Commercial, as we've all seen, has been hit hugely, and certainly with British aviation companies from Virgin to BA,
Mm-hmm.
and even the low-cost carriers, EasyJet, they're just grounding their fleets, and there's a
Yeah, yeah.
dedicated resource there in the air now.
The drone pictures of airports is heartbreaking, seeing all the planes grounded. We saw them asking for a bailout, Virgin Atlantic, already 2 weeks ago. I think this was
Yeah.
very fast. They were saying how they could be hit in the sense that by the end of May, the majority of them will be filing for bankruptcy. Again, thankfully, you guys are focused on more on the ones that can arrive in the private jets and the private planes, so you are not hit first. Um, uh, what other kind of questions are you guys receiving at the moment? I know we don't have a crystal ball, but what have you been asked?
I Obviously the biggest one is we're doing a lot of conference calls with clients, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
video calls. It's a great way to use the time to reconnect with clients, and a lot of them are saying, "God, I'm just so bored. I'm at home," and these people are used to traveling a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to be traveling again. So they're all asking, when can we travel again? What can we do? That's a common question. The next question is, when should we start planning? What can we start looking at, and what parts of the world can we start going to? And then it's about safety, security, and health, and those are very common questions, which fall perfectly into our planning model because we
Mm-hmm.
go the diligence that we conduct is hitting all of those key topics anyway. And I think we'll see a way that people travel, and there may be the the introduction again. We used to always have it. A lot of countries had in place that you had to carry your yellow fever vaccination card and an
Mm-hmm.
international vaccination card. When I was in the Solomons in January, they brought in a new measure that you had to show vaccinations for measles, and they
Uh-huh.
with only kind of a month's notice. Well, the client I was taking there was already on part of a 4 month round the world trip, so we had to ensure that we had them vaccinated to get them in. I think we'll see a lot of that coming through as well, and clients will start. So when a ban is ready to go straight away, so we're talking to
Got
them
it.
these different measures.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because you were saying many of those trips you have to do 4 months in advance. I do remember when I went to India, which is not Antarctica or any of the places you actually mentioned, but still you had to do vaccination. It was like almost like 2 months in advance that you had to take them every week or something like that to prepare yourself to actually enter the country. So a lot of people actually forget the vaccination part. Um,
Yeah.
no, let me go right now. No, you can. Another question would be, because of all the planning and because like you're saying now we have people or trips that you would be seeing spread out throughout the year, now everybody's waiting for that moment for that travel and ban to be lifted. How are you planning, or how are you thinking of the surge that will happen? um,
Yeah, great question. And I think we we're absolutely gearing up for this potential surge, and I think it's good for many reasons. Get people, spirits up, and give them positivity and something to look forward to, but also bring in some much needed cash injection into economies.
mhm.
With people traveling again, the big part is being able to be ready for that. So actually, we're utilizing this time right now to do all of that kind of admin stuff, which has been on all of our lists for ages, and just keeps getting pushed down because we're so busy. We're traveling all the time, often different trips, and that
Yeah.
right up to the top of the list again now. And so I think we're very lucky at Pelorus that we integrated a new IT system at the beginning of the year, at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So now I'm having a lot of those video conference calls with clients and new clients as well, and then able to share with them stuff from our cloud-based system straight away. And they're logging in, they're getting our collateral, seeing a lot of the films that we make, and they're really learning more about Pelorus and starting to dream. So that's naturally going to help, when we come through and the bans are potentially lifted.
Yeah.
It's them working with suppliers, and that's the really key part. And with the countries that we go to and the people on the ground we work with, that they're ready as well and they're able to
Exactly.
influx. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Oh yeah, and you were so lucky that, well, you had not seen this coming, but you've been documenting all your trips because you know to use that as your marketing tool for the next trip. So it has
Complete.
also been done in a very professional way. They're very cinematic. It actually looks like a movie that you would actually go and watch. So that was lucky on your side, especially now that we're constrained to only see each other through the screen.
Yeah.
Um, um, do you have any advice for people that are thinking about, like, I do want to travel, but we don't have the answers when travel bans been lifted? What outlets are you looking into? Is it finance, healthcare? What are you keeping tabs on in the news?
Yeah, naturally we're following the yacht and the travel industry very closely, understanding what's going on in there, especially the yacht charter market, but also sales and things. So, but I think you've got to have a more rounded approach to it as well. And so it's watching a lot of webinars and getting involved with those, from the FT Live ones and the
Mhm.
economy, and getting an understanding of, ultimately this is immediately about health and healthcare systems in a country, but then what's that going to play on the economy in each of those countries, and how that play through into how people travel, and what's going to be available to them as well. Some of the unfortunate effects of what's going on is that companies will go bust and go out of business, and people that may previously have worked with may no
Mm,
longer be there. So
exactly.
we've got to understand all of that and the dynamics on them. And also, I think travel can be, when the bans are lifted, there'll be a lot of very positive effects on travel. We've got to do it in the right way. We've got to make sure it's safe and it's done under the correct ways for the health services and what have you. But the positive sides are cash coming into economies,
Mhm.
boosting a lot of the small businesses and medium-sized businesses, which thrive off people traveling,
Yeah.
really bringing something back to them. And I think we're lucky with our clientele. that people will start traveling again, and that cash injection into those economies and into those businesses will be absolutely vital. And so if we can help play a part in that, I think that'd be wonderful. Yeah, a
So,
really big achievement.
last question before you head out. What advice do you have for people that are in isolation, are waiting to actually travel? I know you answered that a little bit with staying on top of the news with what is affecting us globally. But what I know you're doing a happy hour with your team. I love the
Yeah,
fancy dress. So you can tell us a little about it. Surviving
yeah,
in isolation.
yeah. I think isolation is it's a tough one, and it will really play a lot of on people's minds and their health. So having routine in there is absolutely vital, and exercise, because you're fit in body, you'll be fit in mind. It's a big mantra that we believe in at Pelorus. But I think also take this time an opportunity to learn. Learn about a new skill, learn about yourselves, but also learn about something that you want to go and do. And for us, that's travel, and for our clients, and then engage. We want to engage with everyone, our current clients, but new clients, but also people from all different parts of the world. And that's, we're so lucky that we can do a Skype call, we can do an Instagram chat, a WhatsApp, FaceTime, Zoom, a house party even.
Yeah.
So there's all of these different methods, and actually interaction with people, learning and starting to get creative, and really, and dream big, because we will travel again, and that's the important part. And we can get very stuck in the moment now, and there'll be people go through some really terrible times, but we will come through it, and we'll come through it together and united. And ultimately, for us at Pelorus, if we can then take people and they can create amazing memories with friends and families again, that'd be absolutely wonderful. So, yeah, I think if we all talk, and more communication, the better.
That's great advice. And like he mentioned before, was they're actually tackling a lot of those things they were always putting on the side. So dust off those notebooks that you said, one day I will do this, do
Yeah,
that now, because then you will be ahead of the game when we finish with this isolation, which will end. So you
yeah,
have to be ready for when that ends. And like he's saying, there's a lot of planning for, are some companies going to be around us, that contact going to be there with me, for me? If not, you have to have a plan B, plan C, because that client of yours wants to visit that destination. So you have to have all your network in place for when that moment hits. As we know, there will be a surge, so start planning for it. Jimmy, before we leave, wrapping this up, how can people follow you? How can people follow the expeditions and all your travels on Pelorus?
yeah. Obviously, there's the plorusx.com website as a first port of call, but we're on Instagram, and Facebook and Twitter. Instagram we love. We do a lot of chat with people on there, and then obviously my own accounts as well, and Geordie's, but also email and telephone, and pick up the phone, and we'll happily arrange a time to speak. I
So,
think we spoke on Instagram first.
oh, yes, we did.
I know more and more people do. We've signed a client from just conversations on Instagram, so it's great, and everyone's on a different level. Let's see if we can get a client from House Party. That would be great.
Oh, please. That will be on the news if you do that one. That'd be funny. Well, thank you so much. Everybody else, don't worry. All the links to where you can find him on Twitter, Facebook, and all that will be there. Also, his sites are prepared for you to go and see all the press clips. I also found them on their social media networks, so you can also go and read all the great articles that have been written about them and the company. So thank you again for joining me,
Enjoy.
and have a great day and stay safe.
Definitely. Bye.
Bye.